Never before in the immediate aftermath of the death of a pope have American politicians thought that the Pope's death is an opportunity for fun, a time to publicly make jokes about it. Sure, plenty of people make jokes about popes, including jokes about popes dying. Comedians, that's who does that. Anyone can do that. But politicians don't, because politicians are careful people. They don't want to offend anyone. They're not funny people. Politicians are not comedians, and they're not good at comedy. And Republicans are proving that in a totally new arena of what is now exclusively Republican comedy, and that is making jokes about the Pope and the papacy. Here's a couple of right-wing Republican Catholics playing in the comedic field opened to them, to their glee, by the death of a pope.
Now, on X, Vice President J.D. Vance actually was very funny, remarking, quote, "I think he could take on a bit more. If only there was a job opening for a devout Catholic." When does conclave start? I think the 7th. Here now with more is Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Mr. Secretary, you got to admit, that was pretty funny. I like that.
You know, we thought about it, but you have to, it's an unmarried Catholic male. You don't have to be a priest. People don't know that. Any unmarried Catholic male can be Pope, but I got married and I'm happily married, so.
I know you are. And by the way, you're
so funny. Sean Hannity got married and divorced and is on his way to getting married again, so he's going to miss out on that Pope job, too. And even if Marco Rubio had never married, the College of Cardinals would probably want someone with a stronger commitment to Catholicism than Marco Rubio, who was born Catholic, then as a kid, when his family moved to Nevada, became Mormon, then became a Catholic again when they moved back to Florida, and then became an evangelical Christian as his political career was blossoming in a party favored by evangelical Christians, and is now back to being a Catholic again. James David Vance, who has changed his name more than any vice president in history, changed his religion in 2019 to become a Catholic for the first time. Someone with only 6 years in Catholicism and no formal Catholic education might lack many Catholic sentiments, including possible outrage, when Donald Trump tweeted this picture of himself as Pope. Vice President Vance said, "I'm fine with people telling jokes." That was his reaction to Donald Trump's version of himself as Pope. It's a joke. No Republican has explained the joke. No Republican has attempted to explain what's funny about it. The religiously wandering Marco Rubio has said nothing about it. The Catholic bishops of New York State, which includes the Cardinal Archbishop of New York, Timothy Dolan, who has been very chummy with Donald Trump, said directly to Donald Trump publicly, "There is nothing clever or funny about this image, Mr. President. We just buried our beloved Pope Francis, and the cardinals are about to enter a solemn conclave to elect a new successor of St. Peter. Do not mock us." Donald Trump is too ignorant to know this, of course, but there was a very strong strain of anti-Catholic bias and bigotry in American politics from colonial times well into the second half of the 20th century. Mocking Catholics and mocking cardinals was acceptable in much of America through most of our history, and acceptable from politicians. But for a politician to do that today would make that politician a very stupid person. Remember, politicians are supposed to try to treasure voter support, which is why they don't live by the rules of stand-up comedians. The religious outrage that Donald Trump invited with that picture is just very stupid politics. But what is most important about that picture has nothing to do with religion or Catholicism or the papacy. What is so horrifying about that picture is the mental capacity of the president that is on display in that picture. That is the picture that Donald Trump decided to display of himself around the same time that he was saying, "I don't know," when asked, "Don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?" That is not a picture of a man who has bad taste. Donald Trump has been a vulgarian with bad taste his entire life. That is a picture that the 25th Amendment was created to deal with. The 25th Amendment was written to deal with a disabled president incapable of carrying out his duties because of physical or mental disability. Any other vice president and cabinet for any other president would have immediately convened a discussion of invoking the 25th Amendment if that president ever put out a picture of himself like that. The vice president and the majority of the cabinet can vote to remove the president from office and install the vice president as the acting president as long as the president is disabled. The 25th Amendment was adopted in 1967. The authors of the amendment knew that establishing that the president was mentally disabled might not be easy, might not be clear, but if Pope Paul VI had died in 1967, and President Lyndon Johnson put out a picture of himself as Pope, like the one Donald Trump did, every member of Congress in both parties, every member of Lyndon Johnson's cabinet would have unanimously agreed that the president had lost his mind. Today in the Oval Office, Donald Trump said, the Catholics loved it. The only Catholic who claimed to like it was Donald Trump's vice president, who has been a Catholic only the last 6 of his 40 years of life. The man who exhibits economic dementia every time he talks about tariffs said the Catholics loved it. The man who can't remember his oath of office when asked about it in a television interview said the Catholics loved it. After the bishops told Donald Trump directly, do not mock us, Donald Trump said the Catholics loved it. You can never know what stupidity is going to do next. It always surprises you. It's impossible to anticipate stupidity because it has no logic. It is disconnected from reality. I was not expecting Donald Trump to post a picture of himself as Pope. How could I expect that? How could anyone expect that? Stupidity without power can be easily ignored. But when stupidity has power and you never know what it's going to do next, then you can always feel the danger of that stupidity. And you have to live with the fear of not knowing what's next from someone who could hurt you. Donald Trump has hurt a lot of people. Donald Trump and Elon Musk literally have taken food away from starving children in the middle of a famine in Sudan. They have taken life-saving medicine away from people around the world, especially people in poverty in Africa. They have sent people who have committed no crimes to a prison in El Salvador. Donald Trump is doing all of this, heaping cruelty on top of cruelty without really knowing what he's doing. And that picture of Donald Trump as Pope, that picture of Donald Trump taking the job that is, at its very essence, a permanent statement against cruelty in the modern world. That is a picture of someone who has no idea what he's doing and never will, because he has never shown the mental capacity to understand his very simple oath of office to defend the Constitution of the United States.